My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Robert. In every episode, we're bringing you faith stories and fishing memories from some amazing members of the fishing community.
So join us as we shed a positive light on all things faith and fishing. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
Hey, and I'm Robert.
In this episode, we are gonna get to talk to somebody who we both know we've fished tournaments with, so we're excited about that. But I did want to go over a couple housekeeping things. First off, at the time that we're recording this, let's see, today announced the giveaway that we're doing. We're giving away a hoodie to somebody, so make sure that I have not announced when we'll be doing the giveaway, so I don't know if it will be after this episode or not, but if it is, go ahead and head on over to Instagram and tag somebody in that post, but in the comments. But yeah, so we hit 6,000 listeners. If you listen to our last show, we said, we were at 5,999. It might happen during that show. And I texted Robert at the end of it. I looked at the numbers and it was 6,001. So, we did take a Thanksgiving break. And, so that's why it's a little bit late there, but we got it done, and we are, like I said, going to be giving away a hoodie. We did have a couple of technical difficulties last episode, so if you're watching on YouTube and you had to kind of watch awkwardly for 47 seconds on where there should have been an ad, but there was, and I apologize. Hopefully we'll get that figured out. But yeah, man, Robert, how's it going, man?
Man, it's going good. We had a good Thanksgiving. My older son came back from the Czech Republic, so the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so he's been home about a week now, so he's getting reacclimated into living with his parents again, which is interesting after he's had a semester not only out of the house but in a different country where some of the legalities, the ages are a little bit different than they are in the United States. So he has had to readjust some of his outlook on things, I guess you would say, but it's going good. So we had a good Thanksgiving, spent some time with some family down around Greenville, and then we went to Boone, and we go up there every year, cut our Christmas tree, and have just kind of our family weekend. And so really good. And, haven't fished a whole lot, but, it is what it is. We'll get out there soon, hopefully. What about you?
Great Thanksgiving, or I should say Thanksgivings. We went down to my wife's parents, on Thanksgiving Day, and then Sunday went down to my parents, and we had good Thanksgivings. I did get to fish that weekend before Thanksgiving with, through my, let's see, I had one day where I could go out and fish the charity tournament for Jaxton, and caught a couple nice ones, but not enough to work my way into the top 6 to be able to choose a charity. But yeah, had a good day on the water anyway. But yeah, man, did you have any more housekeeping stuff to go over before we jumped into it?
No, man, I'm excited for this episode. So I have had this guy's home-fired steaks over the campfire grill, and he fishes really well, and he can cook a mean steak. So I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Well, let's get him introduced right after this. With 30 years of experience of handcrafting lures under his belt, Mr. B of Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, jigs, underspins, swim blades, and more right here in the U.S.
All of his skirts are hand-tied, and all of his baits feature a baked-on powder paint, all metal components, and only Owner and Gamakatsu hooks. All of his baits come in a variety of colors, and if you purchase a bait in the Battle Shad color, 30% of the proceeds go to the Wounded Warrior Project. To see the quality for yourself, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, to place your order and use promo code FAITH, the letter N, FISH, the letter N, POD 1X10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order. Savior Outdoors gives me confidence that no matter what happens, what I take on the water is coming back home with me. With retrieval devices for fishing rods, bow fishing bows, action cams, and even one that can be attached to your other gear, they've got your whole arsenal covered. When one of these devices goes in a drink, it releases a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back, and the pressure-sensitive filter means that you don't have to worry about rain or dips in the water while landing a fish. At SaviorOutdoors.com, that's SAVUR Outdoors.com, you can use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% and try them for yourself.
All right, so you already hinted that. Sorry, something just fell in the closet in there. So you already hinted that this is a guy that we have. You know him a lot better than I do. I've only gotten to sit down and talk with him once, but we've fished tournaments with him before. And he fished the Jaxton tournament and ended up coming out on top and kind of made me out to be a guy who was just making excuses, because I told my wife, I was like, I'm just kind of fishing. Hopefully I'll do this, but I'm fishing against guys in Texas and Florida, and this time of year, I'm not going to be able to compete with them here in North Carolina. And here we have a local guy here to North Carolina that put the hammer down and made me out to be wrong on that. But yeah, let's get him in here. Dave, man, welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, guys? How you doing tonight? Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So, you are well versed in the kayak fishing tournament scene, fishing not only here in local trails but the KFL as well. And I'm sure that there have been other trails that you fish. But to get us started, man, kind of give us an idea of who Dave Hart is.
Who Dave Hart is from a fishing perspective, I guess, to start with.
Just from any perspective that you want to start off with.
Well, you nailed it. I against my better judgment, I go out and fish in the cold sometimes, and I love a steak, and I love camping, and I love, for me, really, the thing I've loved most about this past year was just the fellowship and camaraderie with the competitions. I've shared many a campsite with folks this past year, both local tournaments and with the KFL. So that's the fun part of it. That's the most fun I have. As we all know, the days on the water can be rough or challenging or test your patience, but heck, if you have a good campfire and a slab of meat to go look forward to, then it kind of makes it all right. So for me, that's been this year in a nutshell. I've been blessed to have a really great couple of years. I mean, I have not been tournament fishing all that long. I first put myself in a kayak probably around 2009 or 2010. Typical to everyone else's story. Had a family member, my father-in-law, that had a cheap little sit-in kayak, and I thought I could go out and cross the Atlantic in that thing and catch fish, and we did that. So, one thing led to another, and just there's one lake in particular where I kind of cut my teeth on, and despite having other great bodies of water all around me, I always tell the joke, like I live 10 minutes from Lake McIntosh that all of us here in Central North Carolina know about, and I've driven over Jordan Lake thousands of times, literally thousands of times to and from work, and had never fished either of those really until about a year and a half ago. So, yeah, I'd fished this other body of water, just got used to it and comfortable, and kind of knew where the fish were, and I started challenging myself, like, okay, if I can catch them this time of year, can I go catch them that time of year? If I catch them in this type of conditions, can I go catch them in that type of conditions, and all those things? And so I really just started breaking down one body of water, and was successful doing it. So just love it. I just every bit of it, from map study to breaking down water to trial and error to catching the fish. With kayak tournaments, as y'all know, it's really, I mean, some would argue that catching the fish is one of the easier parts. It's the whole process of landing it, getting it in the boat, getting it settled, getting the picture, all that stuff. So just, it's been fast and furious. Like I said, my first tournament I entered was in September of 2020. So,
Okay.
yeah, just really 2 years of experience doing it. So, but, yeah.
Absolutely. What got you started into KFL?
KFL. So, I'd heard about it the first year in its existence, and obviously we had kind of crossed paths with some of the guys in our local trails, and just never really thought anything of it. I thought that's a cool concept. That must be kind of neat, getting the jersey and traveling and having a little bit of a more national presence. And then, I got a message one day out of the blue, like, "Hey, would you like to join?" And I was like, well, let me think about it. In my mind, I was like, well, obviously the answer is yeah. I just got to figure out the logistics. I mean, for me, it was more, not just that it was a cool concept, but I'm like, granted that at this point I was a year into tournament fishing, and knowing the names of the guys on the team, I was like, I've got stuff to learn, what don't I, you don't know what you don't know. Right. So for me, it was just, opportunity right there just to learn from some of the best in our area. And so that's how it came to be. I accepted, and that was about this time last year. And so we had the whole off season. I got to know some of the guys. I didn't know, I had met some of the guys on the team locally, like Jaxton and Steve Perry, but just in passing. But they, each had their cool stories of how I met them, and got to know them. But through that off season, got to we fished a little bit and got to learn some of the other guys, and so yeah, that's how it started.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing I've been following, especially this past year. But the first year I followed it quite a bit as well. But I tuned into quite a few of you guys, on the YouTube when it's streaming live, just because if I can't get out there and do it because of the kids' baseball or softball or whatever we have going on, I mean, that's, to me, is the next best thing, is actually being able to watch people on that split screen. And sometimes, you got two guys from one team, two guys from another team. Sometimes you got 3 or 4 guys from the same team on the screen. It's just according to where everybody's at, the reception. But I really think that the KFL and just kind of that streaming platform is really where this thing is going to end up going. Even on the other tournaments that we fish that are not KFL, eventually that technology is going to catch up where somebody would be in control of, let's say, a 50-person tournament, and being able to go from, hey, Dave's in the lead, let's go to him, and kind of that live narrative of, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then, another cool part of that, and you can probably shed some more light on that, is I think this year you guys rotated kind of like a commentator spot on a lot of weeks that I watched. Either Matt or you were maybe at your house, but you were also kind of commentating and going, filling in between person and person and talking about kind of what they were doing, talking to them. So maybe you could shed a little more light on that, because I thought that was a cool addition that I didn't see in the first year that anybody was doing, is kind of having that person that was kind of putting it all together.
Yeah. And I think, I could be totally wrong on this, but I think it was just a coincidence of dumb luck, where the limitations of StreamYard and how we operate to do that live stream, really made sense. Could somebody run it from the water? Yeah, absolutely. But it really takes away, if that angler's on the water trying to focus on catching fish and you have a short window, take that distraction away and see if you can get somebody, at home to do it. And that's really how that idea came to be. And I love it. I mean, back to just if you're speaking just the live streaming, I'm same with you. If I'm not out in the water, I'm watching some of those matchups, and, it's cool because you could either, hey, I know what body of water they're on and I can tell where they're at or what they're doing, techniques. Okay, that's cool. But really just diversification, man. Like, somebody sitting in Florida could be watching guys catch smallmouth in Michigan, and vice versa. So I just love, the diversity that you can get across the board. And, like I said, you nailed it. I think it's a great concept. The technology will catch up. I think, obviously I just had last year, as my experience with it, but everything I heard, it was much smoother last year than it was the first year. So going forward, it should get better and better, going forward. Yeah. But I love the commentary. I love the dialogue. I mean, I know, even for us as anglers on the water, I mean, most guys will run two phones, one to keep their statistics going with the fishing and one over the shoulder. And so, yeah, I'll kind of look at it every now and then, but I can hear it. And so I typically don't listen to music or anything while I'm fishing. I'm trying to be, in nature there and trying to be as quiet as possible. But I love listening. I know Matt Dunn, when we were fishing one event against Coosa, to hear him talk to Lance Coley, who's a guy that's, primarily a river fisherman from Alabama, all the knowledge that he has, and experiences he has, I'm just sitting there like, I'm losing track of time. I just love listening to it. It's so cool to have that opportunity. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one other thing that I'll touch on, that KFL, that I saw, that I saw you guys do it more so than other teams. And I don't know how much this is talked about league wide, or if you guys have anything where, it's talked about league wide, but the camera angles that you guys use, I find it a lot more viewer friendly, because a lot of times you guys are over the shoulder. And I know that some people don't like that because you're probably showing a little bit more where you're fishing at. And so a lot of people will have it turned around facing them, and all you're seeing is them and the sky. So you're not seeing where they're fishing. I kind of get both sides of it, but I really think for it to grow and to get the viewership, man, that back angle coming over the shoulder where you can actually see what's going on is so much better. And is there any talk of that, like league wide, on what you should be doing, or people are shying away from it because they don't want to show the spots, or shed some light on kind of that? Because I enjoy you guys. Most of you guys are coming over the shoulder.
Sure. Yeah. And I know that, you're going to get opinions across the board and reasons why guys will or will not do a certain setup. And I totally understand too. Like our team went into it. Well, let me step back. From a league perspective, yes, there was a request. It's not a written rule, but a very, highly sought after request. Please use the over the shoulder, because it's just better entertainment. And it's a give and take, like I get it. Like if you're trying to protect, where you're fishing, the style of fishing you're doing, the story with that is like, again, this is the first year I've ever done it, and I kind of commentated the very first event. Unfortunately, I didn't do it right, so it actually didn't go live. But, I told the guys, both our team and the other team, I said, look, they were on Jordan Lake. I said, look, guys, I know where you're fishing. I know there's only so many landmarks on Jordan Lake. I'm not going to, just to be transparent with both teams, I can see where you're at. I can see I can't see what lure you're using, but I can see if you're finesse fishing or power fishing or whatever, I was like, I'm just going to let y'all know, transparent. I'm not going to, say any of it. If you want to talk about your day and what you're doing, fine, but I'm not going to say it to either team just to keep an even, keel. And I think most guys respect everything that's going on. I mean, it's, for the most part, I mean, my experience, I know there was a lot of bad eggs and some drama throughout the year with KFL, but in my experience, for the most part, everyone we interacted with was really cool. And, guys just out there trying to do the best they can to put a win on the board. And the team aspect is a totally different thing. And, it can be tough, but, for our team, it's like back to the camera angles, we said, look, if you're willing and able to do it, do it. But if you can't or don't want to, look, we're not going to harp on it. I mean, some people just aren't good with technology. Some people can't afford to have 2 cameras. Some people can't, so, and we had a good mix. I think that's, ultimately what the league's, request was: do the best you can, just make an effort. This is what we prefer, and let's roll with it. So, cool. We'll see how it goes going forward, but yeah.
Yeah.
So as as in the runnings for the world's most clumsy kayak angler, and also a bit of a gear junkie, I'm very curious, what mount are you trusting to hold a cell phone over your shoulder on the kayak?
I thought I had it in here. I don't have it. I need to get. I trust the one I have. It's not quite tall enough. I'll butcher it. It's a K.A.T.C.H one. I think it's the shorter one. I don't know. It's like 2.5 feet tall. I still have it. I still have my phone tethered just in case, but I haven't had any issues with it sliding off or whatever. So I'm not a techie person. I'm not the one to ask what the best one is or what you should do. So
Okay.
I'm a work in progress. I still rock the milk crate, and I'm happy with it. So.
Yeah, and every time I see y'all with the over the shoulder angle, I'm like, man, there's no way that does not end up in the water if I'm fishing with that behind me like that.
Yeah. The only thing I've come close to, the 2 things I have to be careful of is if I come back up to a ramp and it's next to the ramp, it might ding a ladder or something, or if I'm trying to load it back into the truck. But other than that, like I haven't had any issues with it, any close calls. I do know I need to put it up higher. And of course, when I put it up higher, it's going to be more exposed. But yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive into the face side of things too.
Sure.
So, kind of give us what's your faith story? What do you believe? How did you come to believe that? And kind of give us that side of things, man.
Wow. Okay. So, in a nutshell, just my faith background is kind of all over the place. I grew up in a Catholic family. My grandfather was a deacon out of the Maryland and Pennsylvania area. So, grew up very Catholic at a young age, and then we moved to the Charlotte area in the mid '90s, and the little neighborhood we were living in, just naturally got to be a bunch of friends with the guys in that neighborhood, and there was a larger Methodist church right at the front of the neighborhood that they all just went to, and so kept going to Catholic services, and then went to the Methodist as for their youth group only, and absolutely loved it. Like got to experience the fall retreats, summer mission trips. Went all over the world. Well, not all over the world, but went all over the country. And we did go to Mexico one year, which was really cool for our senior year trip. So really loved that aspect of serving others and spreading the word and everything. So that was that was different to me. That didn't happen as much in the Catholic upbringing. So and then just that just always. Try to keep a solid foundation behind me. Obviously, life happens and things happens, and we, kind of go all our different paths. And then, but lately, I've just been blessed to have a wonderful family. Met my wife at App State. You mentioned going to Boone to cut a tree. And I'm a firm believer that that was all not happenstance. We met at the right place, right time. I didn't know it. She kind of knew it more than I did, I guess, at the time. But married into a sweet, loving, God-fearing family. So just, good background from both sides. It's kind of amazing. I mean, we had a pastor here at a local small church that did our marriage counseling. So we met in 2004 and got married in 2008. So as we're going through marriage counseling, he was like, both of you guys should be on the streets, locked up. You should not be where you are, because, it's just life, we both came from split families, at a tough age of middle school, high school time. And, we just, had all these opportunities to go down the wrong path and ultimately didn't. And I'm a firm believer that's not me doing that. That's God's hand in it. So, and we've, as a married couple, we've got 3 beautiful children. We've gone through ups and downs as well. And again, we just, major life experiences, we tend to don't dwell on them very long. And again, I know for me, that's not me. That's God, pushing us through and getting us over it, saying, I got you, so that's kind of my faith story, where we're at now. And just, like I said, great family, 3 beautiful kids, and everything is good. And I just celebrated my 40th birthday, so I feel like I'm splitting the uprights between y'all. So I got a lot of white hairs coming in here now. So catching up with you,
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, because we skipped last week for Thanksgiving, and then the first thing we got on, Cam was like, "Oh, the beard's back," and I was like, "Yeah, but I feel like there's so much more white in it this year than there was last year, because I try to go the summertime and keep it shaved off, and then when it starts getting chilly, I'm like, yeah, we need a little bit more insulation." But yeah, it seems like it happens overnight, though. You go from dark, and then the next year it's like you could be freaking Santa Claus. So
yeah.
Sneak up on you.
Of course, this is by far and away the longest my beard's ever been. I don't know. I told myself I was going to cut it on my birthday. Now I'm like, maybe I'll take it to Christmas. Maybe I'll take it to New Year. I've had a beard, pretty constantly since, probably 2005 or 2006. I think I cut it once for my wedding. I cut it for whatever reason. I cut it on my first son's birth. But so it's legit been there for 11 years. So he turned 11 this summer. But I try to keep it a little more trimmed up. But I just let me see what happens. Let it go. So
yeah.
And the white comes out. There you go. You can see.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some in there, but my wife always likes to pick on it and
to point it out,
it and pull it out or whatever. But but yeah, I'm the same way, Dave. I've been clean shaven, not very often, and I mean I started shaving in 5th grade, so whenever I say not very often, I don't mean like recently.
Yeah, my son he's in 5th grade. I just noticed he's starting to get that little shadow up here. I'm like, oh man, I'm not ready for this. But
yeah,
like I said, once it starts going, it goes fast.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I had the like the underneath sideburns like down in here, and they started calling me Wolfman in 5th grade, so I started shaving.
Yep.
But yeah, man, we wanted to talk to you also about the charity tournament that we just participated in. So hopefully we're going to be able to get everybody in here to talk about charities and everything. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us as much about your day as you want to tell us, and
sure.
and let us know who you decided to donate to and why.
Sure. So I'll try to separate the two as much as possible. So we'll focus on the fishing and the tournament part first. So again, I dumb luck. I mean, in looking back, I'd heard of Jackson's tournament. Can't remember why I didn't join it last year for whatever reason, but but I'd heard of it, and I just happened to see the post, and I don't know how many of y'all knew it, but actually it had gotten postponed. It was supposed to be earlier, like September time frame. But I think just, life happens. There was a lot of other national tournaments going on, with KBF and then the Hobies and all that stuff. So I think they just kind of, Jackson, I got to get more people to join up, and pushed it out. So really that's a saving grace, because I don't know that, like you said, I don't know if I could have competed with the Floridas and the Texas and the Mississippis. But being when it was, the weather had everything to do with why I chose to fish in the first place. And for me, when I first started kayak fishing, I think it's a good idea for everyone to do it. But personally, for me, it's so hard. I still want to do them, but the monthly tournaments, I just have a hard time doing it because I get too invested into it. I get too anxiety driven. I gotta go. And I know I'm, pushing other priorities at home and working everything away. So I told myself I'm not doing monthlies, but a 1-day charity, I've done socks and cookies a couple times throughout the years. And then, this popped up a 3-day deal. So I was like, okay, it's a good weekend for me. Heck, let's do it. So, leading up to it, I signed up, but just, it was a crazy burnout year for me, fishing wise. think from the start of August all the way till early October. It was something like 7 or 8 weekends in a row. I had a tournament, and then I had like 2 weeks off, and then we finished up our local trail events and finished strong on those. But it's crazy. Like, so the last event we had was our CCKF Clash of Titans on Falls Lake. That was November 5th, and I remember sweating in my hammock at the campsite the night before. It's, muggy and in the 70s, and water temperatures were 68 degrees. And I'm like, well, this isn't normal. But ended up doing really well in that tournament. And then, of course, winter happens real quick. So we had that first cool blast. And in my mind, when the Jaxton thing popped up, I was like, man, I'm really worried about fall turnover, because we had that cold snap. And I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to this place I know that may not be affected. So I actually went out Friday to another big bass spot that I had experienced earlier in the year in a tournament that kind of had my number. It was the BASS qualifying event for the national championship, and I fell one fish short, so I wanted to get some retribution on that body of water, and so I went out Friday morning and completely got skunked. And I knew I was going to, looking at the conditions and what they were. I should have stayed in bed. So couldn't fish Saturday at all. So I said, well, Sunday, let me try some other, big body, or big bass body of water. And, it was cold. It had been really cold. We had some lows in the 20s. I think the day before, like Saturday, the sun came out a little bit, but I know Sunday, like it was, it had gotten into the upper 20s that night, and it was kind of like a hazy overcast kind of day. And highs weren't going to get out of the 40s, I don't think. So I was like, okay, that's perfect. That's perfect for what I wanted to do. So went out to the water kind of late. I didn't actually get to the lake till about 9:30. And this time of year, like I know it gets less, pressure, but I'm not joking. I've got a picture of it. I was the only person in the parking lot. Public body of water, at least, this time of year, throughout the whole winter, there's at least, half a dozen to a dozen boats out there. But I was the only one there. So, okay, here we go. So launched, and the wind was whipping pretty good to start with. So I had to go find some protected areas, and ended up skunking for like 3.5, 4 hours. Like, I was like, man, they're just not here yet. I could tell, on the main body of water, like the turnover probably had occurred that night or the night before. You can just tell the water tinge cut changes. It was so windy, I couldn't really tell exactly how recent it was, but I mean, like I said, November 5th were 68 water degree temperatures, and 68 degree water temperatures, sorry. And when I got out in the body of water that day, it was 54. So 53, 54. So like, well, turnover happened. It might have happened, sometime this week it happened. So, and typically that's, tough fishing for a couple of days. So anyways, got set into an area I've done really well in the past, and skunked for like 3.5 hours. Wasn't seeing a whole lot on the screen. And then, I don't know what it was. Like, something happened. I got my first bite at like 12:45. And it was a good fish. It was a 20.5. And then kind of nothing in that area for another hour or so, and kind of just moved about 100 yards up. I had checked the spot earlier in the day, and nothing. And I was back to where I caught my first fish, and I was getting ready to actually leave. And believe it or not, 54 degree water temperatures, clouds were out, and that's why it happened. Is I saw one bust, and I looked up there. I said, well, I got to go check. And as soon as I got up there, screen was lit up. I mean, I've never seen anything on my side scans like this ever. Like, ginormous balls of shad, big bass, a bunch of them just annihilating shad. And so for the next 3 hours, I've got some great over the shoulder camera shots I'll share one day. You just wouldn't believe it. I caught them. I didn't actually throw a topwater bait, but they hit it on top. I caught them anywhere from top down to about 25 foot of water. I've never seen anything like it. In 3 hours time. It was, I caught 3 big fish. Definitely the last one was a 21 incher, a 20.5 and another one. And I lost 2 other big ones, like literally within a 5 foot area. But other than that, I mean, there were fish everywhere. I caught a ton of 16s, 18s. So it was insane. It was just what right place, right time. I actually went back to that same spot. Let's see, that was on a Sunday. So that Wednesday, or the day before Thanksgiving, I went back to that spot and caught some fish, but it was nowhere near like what it was that I experienced on Sunday. And it's a beautiful area. There was deer everywhere. One of the coolest things I've gotten out on the video is all of a sudden the whole creek arm just erupted with bass, big bass. Typically the bass there are like 16s to 18s that bust shad. These were 18s to 20s plus busting shad. And but the coolest thing was in an area where they blew up, immediately you heard a heron, croak or call, whatever you say, flew over right over where the shad were, and then immediately following there was like 2 or 3 kingfishers and other birds. Like it was just cool to see nature like erupt all right. And I just happened to be blessed.
Be right in the middle of it. Yeah.
Right in the middle of it. And I had the whole place myself. That was the craziest thing. And the sad part is it would have lasted. I mean, I could have kept going, but I was pushing it. Comfortably where I was is about an hour pedal back to the ramp. And I did it in 35 minutes. And I caught that last 21-incher to put me over top with I don't know. I told myself I should have left at 3:30. I think I left at 3:55. And I think I caught that 21-incher at like 3:40 or something like that. So it was all meant to be. I've never had a Charlie horse like that in my life getting in my truck though, because I was getting it back. I was sure. Getting it. But that was a lot of me talking to say that was probably for such a small window of time. And I've been where you're on one specific school of fish and just picking them off, but this was just like anywhere you went within a couple 100 yards. I'd fish the bottom, and as soon as they come up, I'd just throw over and catch them on top. Caught some mid-water column. I mean, one particular bait I was using, but I was, caught a couple on a jerk bait, caught a couple, didn't have an A-rig tied on. I probably should have, because I probably could have caught 4 at a time, I'm sure. I don't throw an A-rig a lot. I hate it. I honestly hate it, but that would be the time and place to throw it, because it would have been insane.
Yeah, for sure. What a special window of time on the water, man. I haven't had that yet. I've had some special days on the water and stuff, but I haven't had that time where it's like loads of big ones in that short amount of time. That's awesome. I'm just sitting here, I'm looking over at Robert on the screen, and both of us are like almost in unison.
I'll share the videos with you. You'll blow your mind. And for me, like I said, I've seen fish school. I've caught them subsurface like that. The thing to me that blew my mind the most was how much I saw on the side scan. It was unbelievable to see what I saw on the side scan and know that they were. I'm not gonna say they were all bass. I caught 2 huge catfish. I don't think I caught any. You can catch white perch, white bass, crappie, but I think I caught some catfish. That was only by catch, but you just knew that everything you saw was a bass if it was sizable on the side scan. So that was the coolest part for me, seeing it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, that was the fishing part, man. It was fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about the charity that you're going to be donating to and why you chose.
Yeah. So the charity, the reason behind it is a cool story. So I'll start with the story. So the first kayak tournament I ever fished was the qualifier to go to the BASS kayak championship. So which I did at Possum Kingdom in 2021. So the story or the charity starts. I was in the building rooting on a fellow angler, Mark Grundy, who was on the stage, and got to witness Joe McElroy and what he did on stage with his winnings, which I think most of us in the kayak scene know about. So, and so for those that don't know, I guess I should say that's he had heard the story with a fellow angler, Jason Borofka, who was also on the stage, of his son JT, who had a rare, very, very rare medical disorder, and was just trying to drum up support he's the only case in the country right now, or was at the time. So Joe heard that and dropped everything and said, well, I'm donating my winnings to Jason and his family to SaveJT.com. Most of us all know about it. And then, obviously that followed up. Kayak Bass Nation guys facilitated a huge charity event last year to raise a bunch of money. And for me, it came to be that I wanted to support that because I got to actually fish and meet Joe at one of our KFL events this year. His team traveled to North Carolina, and I made it a point, before we even launched that morning. I'd never met him before. I just wanted to go up to him and shake his hand and say thanks for doing that. That was impactful, and look what you can do to impact someone else's family. So for me, it was cool for it to come full circle to meet Joe and fish and compete against them, and then just looking back too, like from an angler perspective, just to support someone like Jason, because I'll never forget, like, hearing some of the stories of, again, back to the fishing. Like, I'm always trying to learn. We're all trying to learn little techniques and little things. And hopefully he doesn't blast me for sharing this, but because he shared it publicly. But I'll never forget, like, it was the first aha moment. I told you I can talk a lot, so I'll try to make this quick. But Possum Kingdom was a gorgeous lake. Any opportunity in the world to fish how you wanted to fish it. And it was insanely huge and just such a cool body of water. Well, prior to the event, there was a lot of rain upriver in Oklahoma that was coming down into the lake. And so day by day in practice, this mud line was just getting worse and worse throughout the lake. And how are you going to fish this thing? And I'll never forget Jason on his kind of debrief roundtable was like, he's like, well, I practiced a couple weeks ago in this area, and I was catching them on a drop shot around brim beds. I'm like, okay. He's like, but with the mud, I knew the brim beds were there. I couldn't see them. I saw them on my scan, but he's like, I knew the fish didn't leave. I can't fish them with a drop shot because of the water clarity. So he just threw a lipless crankbait in there. And I was like, man, that's so cool. Like, who would have thought of that? Like, who's going to throw a lipless crankbait middle of summer on brim beds in chocolate milk and place in the top 10? That guy is. And it was just, it was so off the wall of how guys were catching them that week. Like, he was probably the only person doing that, and it worked out for him. And just to see a guy with I've never met the guy, but if you look at him, like he fished, he's from California. He's since moved to Texas, and he's fishing the opens and trying to make a push to get on the elites one day. So to be able to do that, to follow your passion and also support your family with what's going on with JT and everything, it's just awesome. And it's just a drop in the bucket. And hopefully, if someone hears this story and they don't know what Save JT is all about, if it's just one person that hears about it and it can donate a little extra, then it was worth it to me. So I got nothing but best wishes for that family. It's so cool. I pop in and see that dude's just a strong little trooper of a man. I mean, like, he's up against every odd, and he keeps knocking them down, and got through a pandemic, actually contracted it and fought through it, and he keeps fighting hard. So happy to support him. So.
Absolutely. I don't remember the name of the disorder that he's got, but if I remember correctly, is he 3 now, or has he turned 4?
Oh gosh, put me on the spot now. It's right in that age, range. And I would butcher the name of the disorder as well. But I know, like, so go ahead.
Either way, at this point, he lived longer with this disease than anybody else ever has.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about rare, like at the last number that I heard, like nine people in the world had it. So.
Well, and just a testament to how he's fighting this thing. I mean, like, I saw like the latest post, like he has a speech therapist helping him out now too. Like that wasn't in the cards, Right. If someone told them you need to think about this one day. So he just keeps, he's an amazing story, and he's a tough dude. And like I said, we can all put ourselves in the shoes, family, kids, like to I'm so blessed to have 3 healthy kids, and I get to do what I get to do on a weekend, or weekday fishing, traveling a little bit, nothing crazy, but for Jason to have the support he has to be able to do that and keep JT strong and all that stuff. Just, it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story. And, those that don't know, I mean, just to wrap up that part of it, there's been a GoFundMe out there for quite some time. And I think there's been huge contributions, but I think they're still just a little over halfway to their goal. And the goal is to fully staff, a research team solely dedicated to this disorder and how to combat it. And, so I think, they made a lot of huge headways getting that underway, but work's not done. There's still work to be done. So if y'all haven't, just check it out, savejt.com. His parents do a great job with updates and the important stuff, the tough stuff. I mean, I really appreciate that too, that perspective. Like they have fully embraced what they're up against, and they don't shy away from sharing the good and the bad, because they know that every piece of that journey is important, and I can't imagine. So my thoughts and prayers go out to him every day, and that little dude's an inspiration, and
yes, he is.
His dad's a stick, so I got to support him.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure that the links to be able to donate will be in the show notes to this episode. So if you make it to the end of the episode and you can't remember what the link was, just look down in the show notes; it'll be there. So, yeah, man. So that is awesome, and super excited that there's going to be at least, I haven't seen what everybody else has chosen as their charities yet. So I'm super excited that at least one person is going to be donating to JT. I wanted to, with all of our guests, there's a couple questions that we always ask, and I wanted to make sure that it's been forgotten once here lately. So I want to make sure that I remembered this time, but,
sorry, I want to say one more thing too.
Absolutely.
Sorry, but I just have to say huge thanks to Jaxton for putting this whole thing together. Cause again, it was meant to be that I came across it, and it was meant to be that I found myself in a place where huge fish were and all that stuff. That's all fine and well, but for him to do the legwork, all the sponsors, I mean, the sponsor package is unbelievably nice. And all the anglers that signed up, I know, majority of the folks probably had no intentions of fishing, but to donate their contributions, I appreciate each and every one of y'all too. And to the anglers that placed, I mean, I never would have guessed that I would have come out on top. No, like you said, knowing those guys were in Texas and Florida, but that cold snap, it shut down the fish where they're at, and they fired up the fish where we're at. So,
yeah,
it's just meant to be. But I just wanted to make sure I said thanks to everybody across the board. So.
Absolutely. I mean, so what fishing story or memory means the most to you?
Man, I got a lot. Probably choose a funny one because I get picked on it more than anything. So when I met my wife, her mom and stepdad live about 15, 20 minutes from us. They have a couple farm ponds on the property, and I was out fishing stupidly with, I mean, it wasn't that heavy of a spinnerbait. This was before I knew what I was doing fishing. Like, really, I mean, I knew what I was doing, but wasn't really avid about it. Anyways, I was casting a spinnerbait. Probably, it wasn't quite a half ounce, but a fairly sizable spinnerbait on an ultralight. And in my back cast, I hooked it right in the back of my scalp. And it was the day before we were flying to Mexico for a trip. And I mean, it was buried in the meat. Like, it wasn't coming out. You couldn't back it out. Like, it didn't hurt, but you couldn't back it out. You couldn't push it through. So it was an urgent care visit. They almost gave up on it, but they finally got it out. So that's probably one of my fishing stories. Yeah. I cringe for the day that I get one in my hand. Like, it's just a matter of, not if, but when, but yeah, I haven't done that yet.
I've been lucky so far. ish. I mean, I've gotten myself a few times in different places with especially with little bait hooks and stuff. But as someone who always has at least one crankbait tied on, I know it's a matter of time, and I don't do great with that kind of stuff. So, well,
just try not to pass out and fall out of the kayak.
Yeah. You go find somebody on the bank or something.
Yeah.
Make sure there's somebody around.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't, I feel like I can get through it, but it ain't going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. And it's going to happen. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Same.
Yeah.
And whenever you're out fishing with somebody, man, what are you typically talking about? What's your typical conversation like?
Well, this is a funny answer. You're not going to believe this, but maybe y'all can attest this. Like, whether it's the guys on the KFL team or just friends, we go out fishing. Hey, let's go fishing. Okay. We get to the ramp, we hang out, and I go this way and he goes that way. We don't see each other the rest of the day. So it's funny, my wife comes, how was fishing? Great. What'd you talk about? Never saw him. So for me, honestly, it's, and I need to be better about doing it more. My kids are the age, so they're 11, 9, and 6. And so all three have been out either in my kayak with me, or I've let them kind of either towed them along or let them paddle along with me. So I just love coaching them. They like the lake we go to in the summertime, we always go out. There's certain spots and, let them catch a couple bass, and white bass are out there fairly often too. So just talking with them and seeing their excitement at first and then their panic when the fish gets up close. Yeah, as far as talking on the water, I really don't do it a lot in the kayak. I hopefully y'all can attest to it. I don't know, maybe I'm just a solitary guy, but if it's anything, it's like, hey, did you catch them? Yeah. Where'd you catch them? Where you at? Yeah,
yeah, for sure. My typical answer would probably be, I don't. Like, I just
don't catch them.
No, I thought you meant you don't talk. That's y'all.
Yeah, my dad used to introduce me to people and say, "This is my son Cameron. He doesn't talk to people." So I mean, for me to have a podcast, have worked as in ministry where I'm talking to people on a regular basis, it's funny to see where I've come. I still suck at small talk. Having small talk is not my thing, but yeah, I've joked about it before. I went fishing on my birthday. I think it was last year, and it was my first time fishing with Paul Roberts. And I got back and they're like, "How was fishing with Paul?" I was like, "Fishing with Paul, it just means that you're fishing the same body of water on purpose."
Yeah.
He was gone.
Yeah, he gets
no way I'm keeping up with him.
Yeah, he moves.
Yeah, he doesn't stay in the same place very long. We were fishing Falls Lake one time, and it was a tournament, and there was 6 or 7 of us that put in at the Eno boat ramp. And I had fished it the day before and had figured some stuff out, so I was pretty confident I was going to catch some fish. And so we started out, and Paul comes by me, and, he's throwing stuff left and right, bank to bank, and then he just keeps on going. And it was about 10 minutes later. I was fishing a lot slower than he was, but about 10 minutes later, I see him coming back, and he's still slinging it side to side. And he passed me. He's like, "Well, how you doing?" I was like, not that good so far." He's like, I'm just keeping on going. He was, 90-0, just going as fast as he could. So, I can understand, he is nonstop when he starts out.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Paul Roberts and Bass and Brews podcast. Y'all go check them out for a really, really fun podcast. But But yeah, absolutely. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we will do our What's Your Favorite segment that we do with every guest, and just have a little bit of fun. So y'all sit tight, and we'll be right back.
Atollas, based out of Charleston, South Carolina, is an eyewear accessory and gear company. Atollas, based out of Charleston.
Something tells me they ain't doing it right.
Let's try that again.
Atollas, based out of Charleston, South Carolina, is an eyewear accessory and gear company focused on enhancing your time on the water. Their floating sunglass retainers are the most technically advanced around. Over 5 years of engineering, testing, and exhaustive feedback from paddlers, anglers, and watermen have resulted in a patented design in a class of its own. They're incredibly light and comfortable, built for durability, sport a sleek, minimal design, float virtually all brands and models of sunglasses, and they're back for life. So if you break them, Atollas will replace them. No questions asked. Whether you're fishing, kayaking, or boating, Atollas will save your shades from the dream. Head on over to atollas.co to check out their gear and use promo code FAITHINFISH15, that's faith the letter N, fish the number 1, 5, at checkout to save 15% on your order. Whether you're a Ned Rig vet or a finesse fishing noob like me, Jade's Jigs is your source for high-quality finesse jigs that raise the bar by being lead-free. Using a tin bismuth alloy not only makes Jade's Jigs eco-friendly, it also makes the jig lighter so you get the same profile with less weight for the fish to feel. Check out jadesjigs.com, that's JADESJIGS.com, to see their full lineup of jigs, styles, and colors. And since you're a Faith in Fishing listener, you can save 10% on your order by using promo code FNF10 at checkout.
All right, Robert, you want to get us started, man?
Yeah. So we'll go with what's your favorite scripture?
Favorite scripture. There's two come to mind. One. I have to say both. I'll give you the quick and easy one first, and then I got a story behind this other one. So, which is a very, very common one, but I have my own life twist on it. So, probably Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Basically, I'd say, don't worry, pray, and be thankful. It's kind of how I remember it in my head. And for me, like being an angler and all that stuff, it's like, I know that's more, casts a wider net than just fishing, but it applies to me there too. Where it's like, you go out, if it's your day, it's your day. It's not, it's not. You can't worry about it. It's, it's already decided. So, but that's always a good one. I think just, humans in general, especially men, being men, have a tendency to worry about everything and anything and everything. So it's good to stay grounded with that one. So that's the easy answer. The other one, and I'll just put it out there, and maybe we can have a longer discussion on it because I'm still wading through it. Everyone's favorite fishing scripture is in Matthew 4:19, but it's a little different for me. It's got a special place in my heart. So a couple of years ago, my best friend passed away unexpectedly. We fished a couple of times. We did a lot of other hobbies. He wasn't a huge angler, but he was in his own right. But anyways, he'd gotten into hand tying flies, and so he had a little fly tying cabinet, and he'd gotten active in our local men's group at church and stuff. Started leading that, and then he passed away. But he had scribbled that scripture on the front of his fly tying cabinet, to which I have now hanging in my shed, and I know I don't have plans for it. I just know it has a plan at some point in my life. And so it sits out there and it's going to get used one day. But that scripture, obviously, everyone knows near and dear to their heart. And I made a post, just kind of reflecting on the season of KFL and being blessed to have experienced that, and just kind of made a statement like, I don't know what it is that, God has in store for me with this, but it's something. It's not just fishing. I don't know what it is, but it's not just fishing. And so that's where I'm still working through that in my life right now too. And it's kind of cool. Like I get reminders all the time. Like, My wife and I started watching the Chosen series recently. I don't know if y'all know about that. And it's very well done. And so had fallen asleep, and that first one came on. And, she mentioned it to me, and so that scripture, Matthew 4:19, definitely is working in my life right now too. So
absolutely,
yeah,
cool. That's awesome.
I couldn't give you just one. Sorry.
Oh, that's great, man. So my favorite scripture is Philippians 4:6-7, and I've probably done somewhere between 70 and 80 of these interviews, and you're the first person to have the same one as me. So that's awesome. So what about a particular story from the Bible? Is there one of those that's your favorite?
Well, the one I just mentioned is fascinating to me. I was bummed because seeing how good that Chosen series is now and how well it's done, I have to go back and watch that scene. But yeah, just that whole scene, those guys being on the boat and, hearing the voice from the shore and all that stuff. That's just, just to know that like what's going through their minds at the time. But now that I get into it, I mean, I could take any of these stories where Jesus is getting his disciples to come follow him. Like, and maybe it's just the season I'm in with the show, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All the, because for me, like, I really appreciate how, my current pastor and the one I had before, preach the Bible to a core, but definitely do it like, especially my last pastor, just in a historical perspective. And I've always been a history buff, like, just love the story aspects of it, and like, things you may not have learned in other churches or elsewhere, but just the stories and the histories behind it. I really appreciate that, tying it together and like, okay, how did this really come to be? Through Jesus' life, in the New Testament. So, any of those.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, we'll move to some fishing questions now. So, your favorite fish to catch?
My favorite fish to catch. I've not caught very many of them, but without a doubt, it's a redfish or a red drum on topwater.
Awesome.
Second to none.
Yeah, yep. There is something special about watching a fish with an underturned mouth come and grab something off the top of the water. There just is. I love it.
The power in those fish is just unbelievable too.
Absolutely. So, reds are your favorite fish to catch. What's your favorite fish to fish for?
Favorite fish to fish for? I mean, it's probably got to be largemouth, just because of the versatility. I'm one. Before 3 years ago, I never threw a bait caster. I never threw anything other than. I mean, my go-to, obviously, I would throw like a weightless lizard and maybe a tiny torpedo or something like that. Like now my tackle is insanely stupid. I got things I've never even thrown, but just, learning the techniques of how to catch bass certain times of the year. And, without a doubt, my favorite time of year to fish for them is probably right now. But yeah, I love, there's not many techniques I don't like, but I just like the versatility of the bass.
Oh, that's cool. What about favorite fish to eat?
Favorite fish to eat? Man, that's tough. Probably, so a close second to favorite to catch as well would be a tautog or a blackfish. So I've got an uncle that live up in Virginia Beach, and for certain reasons we haven't been able to go the last couple falls, but typically in the fall we go up there and we catch speckled trout, redfish, and then we drop for tautog, and absolutely delicious. I mean, we do get them in North Carolina here a little bit. If you've never had it, you're probably not going to find it on a restaurant menu. It's probably most similar to sheep's head, I would say, as far as texture and taste. They're just like a sheep's head. They eat crustaceans, crabs, barnacles, all that stuff. So everything's real sweet, real firm meat. So tautog.
If a fish eats crabs as its main source of food, it is going to be a tasty one.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I typically ask this as a follow-up question to that. How do you like your tog cooked?
How do I like my tog cooked? So the best way is to, in my opinion, is to broil it, but broil it in a grill. So you're kind of putting full down or whatever. So you're kind of broiling it, but get a little bit of that smokiness is the ticket. Yeah.
Nice.
Just a little bit of olive oil, just light seasoning, nothing much. It's good stuff.
Awesome. So along the food line, what is your favorite fishing snack?
Does water count? I try to eat during a tournament. I have to go like in the morning. My ritual, because I'm if I can and it's far enough away, I'm going to be camping. I'm going to have. I bring my French press with me. I have 1 cup of coffee a day, no matter if I'm fishing or not. It's a real strong cup of coffee, and if I'm camping, I'll make a little oatmeal. So otherwise, I really don't eat during the day when I'm fishing.
You are not alone in that. We get that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm in that same boat. I have snacks that I really enjoy while I'm out fishing, but typically I eat them on the way home.
Yeah. And I find even the way, like, I think for me, like, and it's probably it is tournament and fishing only. And I think it's partially because I'm focused, but partially it's typically in the hot part of the year. And I just get so hot and famished, like I don't, want to put, unless something's frozen or really cold, which is hard to do when you're out fishing, I don't want to eat it because it's just like, a biscuit. I will say though, my go-to when I'm fun fishing is I'll go to Biscuitville in the morning, get a biscuit, and I'll get a blueberry muffin, and that's usually my afternoon snack. So if I'm fun fishing, it's a blueberry muffin.
And what's your go-to Biscuitville biscuit?
It depends. If I'm going fishing, it's just a bacon, egg, and cheese. If I'm doing it just on any other day, it's a chicken, egg, and cheese. So
both solid options.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with Biscuitville.
Yep, I'm a convert. My wife used to pick on me because she's a Burlington native, which is where they're technically not from there, but they're headquartered here. Yeah, she was after me because I was like, I was a Bojangles guy because it's all we had when I, high school and college. So I finally converted. I'm full blown Biscuitville head now. So
yeah. And what about you can divert to maybe your second one if you don't want to give away your secret body of water, but favorite body of water to fish.
Oh, can I go with my least favorite? No, I'm just kidding. Well, I've thrown it out there before. It's just because it's where I cut my teeth, and that's at Hyco Lake. I love fishing at Hyco Lake. It's a place I can go catch numbers. I haven't caught any giant fish there, but I did. We actually. I'm gonna toot our own horn. For those that know KFL, K.A.T.C.H Kingfishers won the championship, so congrats to those guys. But we beat them, and we beat them on Hyco. And Steve Perry and I got into a school and I ended up pulling a 21 out of there.
Yeah.
So there's some giants in there. Back in the day, guys used to fish, and apparently they're still in there. Would catch tilapia and live line tilapia and catch 10+ pounders out of there. Biggest I caught a really, really old fish that had just spawned out probably a couple days prior, and this was before I was measuring length. She was just under 7 pounds, and she would have been close to 10 probably full because she was sickly sad, old looking. So they're in there, but it's just it gets a bad rap just because of the boat traffic. But I got used to it. I mean, it's where I cut my teeth, and it's really no different than Jordan or Harris on a bad summer day. So if you get out early, get off the water by 10, 11 o'clock, you're good. And it's just fun. I don't know. There's just a ton of fish in there. And it's not like you're catching dinks either. It's like, average 2 pounders. I mean, average 16 to 18s.
That's good.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. That's a fun day on the water for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So your favorite lure to throw?
Ooh. It's got to be a DT6 or DT8. It's got to be one of those. I just absolutely love throwing a crankbait. There's some other things I love that'll come in a close second or third, but really they're distant second and third. It's so funny because I really did not catch that many fish in tournaments this year on crankbaits. I died trying doing it, but other than a couple, like it was weird too. Like practice, we would slay them in crankbaits, and then we'd have a weather change, and they just wouldn't trigger. So it's got to be a DT6 or DT8.
And you kind of alluded to this earlier, but favorite time of year to fish?
November 1st till February 15th.
Yep.
And I never did it until last year, but I was kind of shown the potential. Just you're not going to catch a ton of bass, but the ones you're going to catch are huge. And you catch a lot of bycatch, which is a ton of fun, like tons of catfish, white bass, white perch, which if you haven't tried, I tried white perch last year. I don't know how they are in the summer, but wintertime, you fry them up like a piece of flounder, close my eyes, I'd tell you it's at the coast. I mean, that's how good it was. I don't care for crappie, really, but white perch was unbelievable. But yeah, this again, it's peaceful. There's not many people in the water. You're more in tune with what's going on, because it's such a challenge to get bites that you're really focused in on your electronics and you're really focused in on what's going on. So yeah, this time of year.
Awesome, man. Well,
and I caught my PB this time of year too. So
oh yeah,
always helps.
That definitely does. All right, man. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up. What's coming up for you? What's your plan going from here?
My plan, as far as fishing goes, right, I assume, or in general, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, we're working on logistics now for KFL next year. They're kind of consolidating a little bit, changing some of the format, as far as, home lakes and things like that. So we're working on that. We got a lot of kinks to work out. I mean, nothing terrible, but it's a lot of moving parts with a team event, your own team, and then to, translate that to 24 teams. It's a lot. I'm hoping to fish CCKF heavily next year. I just have to look at the schedules. I've fished all three trails, enjoyed every bit of them. This past year just didn't work out where I could fish CKA that much because of KFL and other conflicts. And then Queen City, like I'll fish, if I can, and if they're in the area. I enjoy going down. I fished Norman with them a couple times. I fished Lake James. I really like what they're doing, open up the bodies of water. I've got nothing against any of the trails. I just do what's convenient for me, and that just happened this past year to be CCKF. And it's fun. Like I said, all I have to do is continue the fellowship. Got to camp several occasions with the KFL guys, or do an Airbnb. Got to camp out with a couple guys at Baden. Peter Ely got to camp out. I took him camping for the first time. Me and him at Falls Lake that last event. So made sure he got a steak and a s'more. So he was happy, I hope. But yeah, that's the fun part of it. Just to continue to hone in my craft, be competitive, give it my all. That's the thing. I'm pretty easygoing, but I think if you guys know me on the water, like I'm not letting up on the gas pedal at all, whether it's going 18 miles or throwing something outside of the box or trying something different, whatever it is. I mean, that's just how I'm wired to do it. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I wanted to give you an open floor for sponsors, supporters, anybody you want to shout out or say thank you to.
Well, as far as sponsors, I don't really have any other than our KFL team sponsors, which we'll bring some on next year that were there last year. We got some new ones in the works, so can't speak to any of those just yet. But yeah, thanks to everyone that either a friend, competitor, you name it, that I've come across this past year in the fishing world. I mean, it's been a huge blessing for me. I mean, it's our escape. It's what we do. I probably do it too much, more than I should sometimes. But just, thanks to my family that supported me. My sweet wife for taking care of the kids all the time. KFL, there's a little bit of travel involved, but even these local tournaments, like I said, I give my all. So I'm usually gone, at least half of a Friday before, and then all day Saturday, and sometimes Sunday if it's a little bit of travel. So, thanks to everyone in all the clubs. Like I said, I've enjoyed everyone.
Absolutely, and I don't know if we have done it yet. Shout out your KFL team.
Sorry, yeah. So we are the Tar Heel Lunkers. Yeah, there we go. Wearing the hat. Just happened to wear the hat. Tar Heel Lunkers. So we're one of two teams here in the state. The Carolina Casters are in-state rivals. So it's kind of that's a fun little competition itself. We split our season this past year. One real tough event, and then one gangbusters event. We both caught a lot of fish, but you can't compete when guys catch 24 inchers. So, yeah. But, it's been fun. Looking forward to it. Check it out. I know, like I said, like Robert was saying, even if you want to be on the water and can't, it's worth looking up, KFL on YouTube when we start up. I don't know the schedule in front of me. We're actually starting earlier this year, which is awesome. I don't know how early, but as soon as that gets fired up and you can get your fix. And if the fishing's slow, like hopefully the commentary is good and you learn something. So
Absolutely.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, man. And if our listeners want to find you on social media, follow your adventures and stuff, where do they find
you? So it's at Jaxton20 Kayak Fishing. So Jaxton without a G. Excuse me, sorry. I'm going to mute myself for a second. Sorry about that. So at Jaxton20, CHASIN20 Kayak Fishing, and that's on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me there.
Awesome. And I'll have that in the show notes as well. Dave, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed it. And if I had to lose to somebody, I'm glad it was you.
Hey, kudos to you for getting out, man. It can be a daunting time of year, so kudos for trying. I skunked for 2/3 of my experience on two different bodies of water, so.
For sure, man. All right, man. Well, like I said, thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks, Robert.
Good deal, man. Enjoyed it. Yep. A huge selection and crazy fast shipping is already enough to turn heads as an online tackle shop, but Omnia Fishing sets themselves apart with their ambassador program. With Omnia, you can send in fishing reports for your local lakes that recommend baits, structure, tactics, and gear. And when another angler takes your advice and purchases something from your report, you get credit for it to spend at Omnia. The best part means that with Omnia Fishing, you can shop by lake and purchase baits and gear that are proven to work where you're fishing. To get started, go to omniafishing.com and use promo code FNF15 to save 15% on your first order.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle in Greensboro, North Carolina offers a wide range of products and services designed to help protect the environment and enhance the time people spend enjoying the outdoors. With an expansive year-round inventory of kayaks, SUPs, bikes, kayak fishing accessories, paddling clothing, biking accessories, and more, Get Outdoors has established itself as one of the top paddle sports and biking shops in the Southeast. They also offer a wide range of kayak safety and technique courses to get you comfortable in your new boat. They'll even get it rigged up for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or check them out at shopgetoutdoors.com.
Another huge thank you to Dave for coming on the show and sharing his story with us and sharing that special day on the water that he had. Again, his links will be in the show notes, as well as the links to be able to donate to JT and the Borofkas and research for that disorder that they are battling. Robert, man, awesome episode. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, it was a great episode, and a lot of thanks to Dave for coming on. And one story that I wanted to share during it, but I'll share it just kind of to close it down. The second tournament that I ever fished with CCKF, I showed up at a launch on Jordan, and there were two other guys there. And at the time, I didn't know either one of them. They didn't know me, but one of them was Dave Hart. The other one was Matt Dunn. And from that morning, just the way that they treated me, talked to me just like they had been fishing with me for, 10 years, and kind of, welcomed me into, kind of what I call my home club now. And, Dave didn't really touch on it, but Matt is another one of his Tar Heel Lunker teammates. And both Matt and Dave, you're not going to find two better dudes to be around, whether it's fishing or life, and just the way they go about life and the way they treat other anglers and other people in general. That's kind of why I do what I do is, and like Dave touched on, the fishing is fun. It's fun to catch fish. There's no doubt about it. But the thing that keeps a lot of people hooked on this sport is the people that you meet, the relationships that you build, and those times that you share, not always on the water, but off the water, whether it's at a campground, sitting around a campfire, whether it's shooting the breeze on a podcast. I'm just glad that I found kayak bass fishing and the local clubs that I'm a part of. And, just thankful for those people and those relationships I've built, including the one with Dave Hart. So I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was awesome.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we are going to have a few more episodes this year, and then we're going to take a break. Just to, get ready for the holidays and work our way through that, because that's always a crazy time. And then, build up some episodes for next season and get things recorded and all that good stuff for next season. So next season should be a good one. We'll make sure that we have our big Christmas giveaway, all that stuff. So y'all make sure that you're keeping an eye out for that. Can't think of a better way to end it than Robert's message there. So that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Y'all take care, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Faith in Fishing podcast. Faith in Fishing is produced and hosted by me, Cam Steele, and is sponsored by Jade's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Save Your Outdoors, Atollas, and Mr. B Lure Company. Be sure to give us a rating and a review, and to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.